What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Blockcash podcast channel. Today, we'll be talking about Bitcoin and Bitcoin's price chart going into April. The halving month for Bitcoin around the 20th of April is when it's estimated to occur. So this is going to be a very hyperbolic month, in my opinion, where Bitcoin is going to be very active, very volatile, and probably both a positive and negative manner. And we want to take a look at where that's going to send Bitcoin for the rest of 2024. Okay. So obviously we have a lot of indications that, Bitcoin, sells upon the news of the halving, and then it periodically starts to improve months down the line, which could happen like a lot of other years, but things have been a bit different in 2024, right? Bitcoin is moving at a much faster and accelerated pace because of some circumstances affecting it, like the ETFs, especially rates in the US and Fed still pausing on rates and not cutting. Like there's a lot of things that affect this and give Bitcoin a different level of juice. So we're going to talk about that today. Make sure to check out a couple things. Our sponsor, Bump Social, all links for them are in the description below. They're a fantastic new social media app coming out here in April. For users, creators, and influencers, brands, advertisers. There's a ton of new functionality prioritizing monetization, your data, your ownership, your online. So go in the description below, download Bump, and check them out today. Let me know what you guys think. Also, Blockcash has a subscription plan through YouTube where essentially you get access to all the content before anybody else. It's exclusive. So every episode, every video like this, it'll go out to members before it goes out to the general public. So if you pay a couple dollars, price of a cup of coffee a month, you'll get access to that. Helps us as the channel produce great content and elevate the experience. And it gives you guys something before everyone else gets it. And then we're going to be throwing in some cool stuff like merch, for example. We have a merch store that's coming. Personally, I'm working on that myself, putting together really cool hats and stickers and t-shirts and things around the podcast and around crypto and Web3 that might be fun. So all that stuff supports the show. So please check it out. Buy a couple items, give it some gifts to some friends for the holidays, over the summer, for a birthday. Who knows? Everyone loves the podcast, right? Why not the Blockcash podcast? So check that stuff out. All links in the description below. All right, let's dive into Bitcoin. Enough bullshit. Nobody wants to hear about the merch store, or do you? Okay, Bitcoin's at an interesting point. Obviously, Bitcoin has gotten through its all-time high in March. Big whoop. This is awesome. However, this is happening a lot faster than I thought it was going to happen. That is the problem. So it's not really a problem. It just means it's different. So in 2020, all right, Bitcoin had its halving around the same time. Problem was Bitcoin was a lot lower. It was much, much lower than $10,000. And it took a while, the better part of a year, for Bitcoin to turn a corner and go up. But this post-halving look is what it looks like now, almost identically. The only difference is Bitcoin hasn't really soared exponentially higher yet. And I think this is because this is largely being driven by institutional money. All right. On a 1 to 2 basis, institutions are buying Bitcoin faster than Bitcoin can be produced by miners. So 100%, they are making Bitcoin more scarce and driving up the retail price. But the retail market has not flooded in yet like they usually do. That usually happens post-halving. So what's fascinating about this is Bitcoin is already exponentially higher than where it should be at this point in time. Yeah, Bitcoin has had terrible bear market. It sucked. We went from highs of nearly 70,000 to almost 15,000, depending on what chart you look at. And it's had to really grind its way in 2023 to a better position, where by the time it got to the end of 2023, it was moving and grooving. We were sitting around 42,000. And then the new year starts and boom, ETFs send Bitcoin to the fucking moon, right? So we're already through all-time highs. Bitcoin is in this week by week price discovery action mode where it's constantly smashing 70,000, 71,000, 72, 73,000, trying to figure out where it goes next. And it's still not a red week. We've had 2 red weeks for Bitcoin since September of 2023. We are in a bull market 100%. Now, the thing to keep in mind is, again, this is happening a lot earlier than it should be. So don't get caught off guard if this ends a lot sooner than you think it would. A lot of people think the bull market is coming in 2025. I never thought that. I thought the bull market was going to happen on a 4-year cycle, 3-year cycle, depending on the rest of the altcoin market, which started to turn a corner in October, November of 2023, as predicted. We've talked about it a billion times on this channel. And Bitcoin would be dependent largely on the macro scale. There are interest rates through the roof right now. The Fed has been pausing on rates. They have not yet cut. And as soon as they do, money is going to flood into Bitcoin in the retail market. ETFs have drawn in a tremendous amount of value, and these asset managers and institutions are now holding billions in dollars in physical Bitcoin because they have to. You can't back the ETFs without holding it. So they own so much fucking Bitcoin. It's insane. Billions of dollars worth in just a couple months. We just wrapped up Q1. Who knows what happens in Q2? And with the success of how it's going, now the push is not just Bitcoin, but let's get Ethereum ETFs. Let's get Solana ETFs. Let's get Cardano ETFs. Let's get XRP and XLM on the board. Money is going to be flowing in like crazy, guys. And this is just the beginning. This pop is going to be nothing, in my opinion. Now, the halving is coming up, estimated around the 20th of April. I'm going to zoom in here now to the daily chart to give you even further context. So let's look at some of the metrics. On the EMAs, Bitcoin's looking great. It's staying above the 100, staying above the 200, it's even staying above the 50, and it's playing with its food on the 20. All fine and good signs as Bitcoin figures out where it's going next. On the Bollinger Bands, Bitcoin consistently challenges that upper band and holds that EMA pretty well. If not, gives it a nice bear hug. But the Bollinger Band is nice and tight the way you want to see it for Bitcoin. Now, closing those out, looking at the RSI, Bitcoin is overbought pretty heavily at these levels. Going back to October, November, it was pretty overbought. Then it had to consolidate and pull back for a bit, which it might be in the middle of doing right now. So it got overbought again here between middle of February, middle of March. All right, noticeably so, reasonably so, pulls back. RSI is showing that we're actually getting to the middle of the RSI, and I wouldn't be surprised if it pivoted here and went back up too. It's very volatile, high octane right now for Bitcoin, but it's consolidating in a healthy way, right? We're seeing pullbacks in here mixed in. We're seeing some red days, and that's great. And the weeklies have stayed strongly green, so that's the biggest thing. Like this didn't even register a red week. Fantastic. We'd love to see that. Now, we're going to look at another one here. Go to the MACD. MACD is looking pretty good. We're above the volume bars as well. We are just below the moving average on the MACD, but for the MACD, that's fine. We just want to see a relative area where it's starting to flatten out like this, because it can flip and easily go to the upside. Where have we seen that before? We've seen that down here, where it starts to level out, get a little bit more parallel before popping through and marching to the upside. It's doing that here. It's not steep. It's not selling off. All right. It's, it's grooving sideways. That's what you're going to see start to show up on the MACD. It's doing that. It's moving more parallel. And the chance that we likely pop through that is even higher now. So Bitcoin's looking pretty good. I don't have much to say about the bears here. Unfortunately for the bears, there is resistance here. Okay. Very strong resistance, but even better is we're turning a former high around 69. We can even say a little bit around 66, 64, 63. This whole area, all right, is, get a date range. This whole area are former highs. You see that? These former highs are slowly becoming Bitcoin's new lows. That is what you need to keep in mind, right? Bitcoin has not deviated out of this range. It is tapping this range. It is forming those lows pretty strongly. Almost did here, 100% did here in March, looking to do here at the beginning of April, potentially. And by doing so, it solidifies this position for much higher moves. Now, yes, it has not gotten through 73, but that's fine. This was in the short term. That's not really something to worry about. What we worry about is, where do we see new floors and new ceilings, new lows and new highs? Because then that allows us to build better trends. All right, this trend is over and completely invalidated. So we're going to go ahead and remove it, clean this chart up. I'll leave this stuff for historical purposes in case we ever go back. But we just keep getting steeper and steeper. All right. Now, in terms of Bitcoin potentially pulling back after the halving, it's fine. It could happen. It would start to invalidate this new floor that we want to form. I guess the farthest we'd pull back initially would be close to 50,000. We've seen wicks down to 60, wicks down to 59. It doesn't seem to really want to go below that. Again, reinforcing our new floor, which was our former high. Given that that's the natural reaction for Bitcoin, unless something surprises everybody and outflows can outpace the inflows and the Bitcoin being bought up and becoming more scarce, then sure, maybe we can pull down to 50,000. Maybe we could go lower, but I just don't think that that's likely the case and scenario. I think we're in a much bigger cycle than what we had in 2021. But I do think pullbacks are inevitable. So let's look at a couple scenarios. We get through the halving, okay? Let's say we go like this through the halving. All right, where do we go after April 20th? Well, either we, moonshot up to the next range and we start making our way up to glorious 100,000 Bitcoin, entirely possible. Or we actually have a meaningful pullback. It doesn't have to be steep. It can be long and prolonged. And we go to 58, 56, 55, and then we shoot up towards the end of 2024. That would play into the Bitcoin's going to the moon in 2025 scenario. All right, that can definitely happen. What I think is going to happen is the halving comes, we have a strong wick down, and it might happen in like an hour, a couple hours. I think something like this could happen, but we rekindle it, move sideways for maybe a few months. Maybe this is going into summer, and then we shoot up. We got to figure out where Bitcoin's going to have its pullback and then how steep that pullback is going to look. All right. The best case scenario, we chop around in here and then go up. Worst case scenario, we fail to hold this and we come down and we hang out down here for a while, in which 2025 might be the year and this was all, overblown hype. Or we get through the halving, Bitcoin becomes so scarce that it just can't contain itself and we go ballistic. These are all possibilities and scenarios you have to keep in mind. Now, personally, I think in the short term, by the time we get to summer, I think we're very likely to see, let's see, what would be reasonable? You know what? How do we get to 100,000? I think we'll get to 100,000 eventually, but 100,000 by 2025, by January 1st, 2025. I think second, we get the first, January 1st. That'll do. All right. So my prediction for Bitcoin, this is going to be a combination of short-term and long-term because of how volatile it is right now. I don't want to try and guess exactly where it's going to go in the short term. So I'm just going to say medium to long term. I know Bitcoin will get to 100,000. I can feel it. The way Bitcoin's moving and the chunks it's moving, I don't see why it can't get there. It does need to find its own pace. It does need to consolidate. It does need to form floors. It can't just go straight up if we want Bitcoin to stay up. So Bitcoin's doing the right thing. It's chopping around. It's finding floors. It's moving sideways, not having massive dips, not collapsing in on itself. So there's a reason to say it is likely to get up there. Now, will it do it by summertime? That'd be amazing. I really would love to see this happen by June, but we need to give it the rest of 2025. There's too many factors. All right. But I know it will get there. I'd be shocked if it doesn't get there by January 1st of 2025. Let's just see how the price moves and how it reacts and what happens in the markets. There's a lot of crazy shit happening in the world as well. So yeah, that's my thoughts. That's my prediction. That's what I think we need to keep an eye on. And I think that's what the halving might have in store for us and the different possibilities that could play out. So let me know what you guys think. Please put your thoughts in the comment section down below for Bitcoin. And also let me know if there's other cryptos you'd like me to cover. Make sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you have subscribed, thank you so much. You guys are the best. And I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.